Have you ever heard a chorus so simple, so loud, so impossible to ignore, that it feels like a stadium full of strangers suddenly singing your own frustration back to you? I get knocked down, but I get up again. That's Tubthumping by Chumbawamba, a song that sounds like a party chant, but underneath that beer soaked arms around each other sing along, there's a something there's something sharper. And if you and if you ever been laid off, blindsided by restructuring or told your role was no longer needed, that line hits differently. Did this podcast episode is about how a radical British anarchist collective accidentally created one of the biggest global pop hits of 1997, and how that song about resilience became a cultural moment far bigger than anyone expected. Because sometimes the most defiant statements don't arrive as speeches, they arrive as choruses you shout at 2 a.m. The late 90s in the UK were dominated by Britpop. Bands like Oasis, Blur, The Verve, and Pulp were reshaping British identity in sound and attitude. Across the Atlantic, American radio was split between alternative rock, hip hop, and shiny post grunge hits. And then suddenly this chant exploded out of nowhere. Chumbawamba had existed since the early 80s. They were never meant to be pop stars. They were an anarchist punk collective from Leeds, deeply political, fiercely anti establishment, and known more for protest music than for chart ambition. For over a decade, they operated in underground scenes. Then came Tab Thumper, the album, and as its heart, Tab Thumping. Let's have a look at the chorus of the song. I get knocked down, but I get up again. It's repetitive, it's direct, it's almost childlike in its simplicity. But that repetition is the key. In 1997, radio was full of layered, stylized production. Tap thumping cut through like a pub chant, being communal, immediate, impossible not to shout along to. The structure is unusual. Male and female voices alternate, spoken lines reference different drinks like whiskey, vodka, lager, cider, like a snapshot of a night out, then the chorus explodes again. It feels chaotic, joyful, slightly reckless, and yet controlled. And resilience often feels like that too. Messy on the outside, but determined underneath. So, despite its punk roots, Tap Thumping is not a lo fi garage recording. The production is tight. Layered vocals are carefully stacked, the drums hit hard and clean, the bass groove anchors the chant. There's even a subtle melodic warmth beneath the shouting. This wasn't an accident. By the late 90s, technology allowed bands to polish their sound without losing edge. Chumbawamba used that clarity strategically. The song sounds massive without sounding corporate. That tension between anarchist identity and mainstream polish became part of the conversation. And that idea of navigating systems without being erased by them resonates strongly in moments when industries shift and people must adapt just to stay standing. On the surface, it's about getting knocked down and getting back up. But dig slightly deeper, and it reflects something more social. Chumbawamba had long been vocal about class politics, economic inequality, and resistance. Tubthumping can be heard as a working class anthem. Life knocks you down, systems knock you down, jobs disappear, opportunities shrink, layoffs happen, companies restructure, entire sectors transform, but you get up again. And sometimes you do that not with quiet dignity, but with loud defiance. The pub imagery isn't random. It's about community, about collective endurance, about singing together when things feel unstable. And once the video hit MTV, everything changed. The band appeared in colorful outfits, slightly surreal settings, marching and chanting like a cheerful revolution. American audiences embraced it instantly. The song climbed charts worldwide, reaching the top 10 in multiple countries, including the United States. For a band that had spent years in political underground circles, this sudden fame was almost ironic. An anarchist collective in heavy rotation on corporate music television. If you enjoy this kind of deep listening and reflection, join us live every week with the 90s Lover Show on Fridays and with the 80s Lover Show on Saturdays, both live at 7 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube and Kick channels. I first start the YouTube live stream for around 10 minutes just to allow people some time to gather as a kind of waiting room, and then we continue the full show live stream on Kick, where we can play full music, video clips with no restrictions. I I share the link to Kick for you all to move there. And on Kick is where things really come alive with the four show segments, your song request, live voting, your voice messages on air, and even phone calls to share memories, stories, and reflections connected to the music and life. You can participate or simply listen, and if you feel like participating, you can do it on the Kicks live stream chat or by leaving comments on the main post of our public Facebook group, which allows more space to write. Join our public group on Facebook by searching for RetroLovers Radio 80s and 90s Nostalgia. Make sure also to subscribe on YouTube and turn on the notification bell. And keep an eye on all the 6 extra monthly special shows as well. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. So if tab thumping instantly transported you back to a party, a school dance, a sport event, or a chaotic late night summer, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And tell me in the comments where you first shouted that chorus at full volume. And if you ever needed that chorus after a tough professional moment, like being laid off, please share that too, and let's help one another in the comments with some genuine support. Alright, let's keep going. Some critics dismissed the song as a novelty because it was too repetitive, too obvious, too chant like. But popularity often reveals something deeper. The reason people still sing this chorus decades later is not because it's complex, it's because it captures a universal instinct. When life knocks you down, you stand back up. That message works in football stadiums, in breakups, in career setbacks, in layoffs that feel unfair, in moments of personal doubt. It's adaptable, and that adaptability gave it staying power. One of the most fascinating aspects of tub thumping is the tension between the band's political roots and their mainstream success. Some fans accused them of selling out, others saw it as infiltration, bringing radical ideas into popular culture through a Trojan horse of a pop anthem. Chumbawamba themselves leaned into the contradiction. They continue to speak out politically even as they perform on massive stages. It proved that pop success doesn't automatically erase identity. Sometimes it amplifies it. So strip away the shouting and let's listen closely. There's warmth in the harmonies. There's a sense of unity in the layered voices. It's not an individual anthem, it's collective. And that's why it feels bigger than a personal breakup song or a sport chant. It feels communal. It says we fall together and we rise together. And in moments when job loss feels isolating, that collective energy matters. And why this song still resonates nowadays? Well, play Tubthumping today and it still fills rooms because the world still knocks people down. Because resilience never goes out of style. It's like a constant need every week more. Because sometimes you need a, a song that doesn't overthink, one that doesn't whisper philosophy all the time, one that simply shouts, stand up again. In a world where industries evolve rapidly and stability can feel temporary, that chorus remains disarmingly powerful. So now I would love to hear from you. Where were you when you first heard Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba? Was it a sports event, a house party, a school dance? Do you hear it as a pure fun or do you sense the working class defiance underneath? And when you sing, I get knocked down, but I get up again, does it remind you of a specific moment you had to stand back up, maybe after being laid off or professionally shaken? Please share your memories in the comments. Let's build a community that support one another and encourage positively one another in the comments. And let's shout that chorus together one more time. So, do you remember now? This music gave you joy, and maybe today gives you strength too. So allow this moment to receive those feelings. Alright, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and see you all in the next one. I'm Mick, and this is Retro Lovers Radio.